We are briefly breaking into golf. We want to take you now to Haulover Marina, where police are giving an update on a plane crash on the Haulover Cut Bridge. Let's listen in.
There was one person deceased inside that aircraft. What we do know, the preliminary information we do know, and the National Transportation Safety Board is the one that's leading this, along with the Federal Aviation Administration, are the ones that are leading the investigation as far as the plane crash. What Miami-Dade Police Department and our homicide bureau is the death occurred during this accident. But what we do know is that there was a vehicle traveling southbound on Collins Avenue, just going over the bridge when the plane came down. There was what appears to be a head-on collision with that SUV, causing the plane to flip over and then, of course, engulfed in flames. Inside that SUV, there was a female driver with two toddlers. Thankfully so. Nobody. They were transported for just precautionary measures, but they're in stable condition and they're in good condition at the hospital. One person was airlifted by fire rescue to Ryder Trauma Center. Conditions unknown at this point on that person. Another person was transported to Adventura Trauma Hospital. Conditions unknown on that person. And the three that I mentioned, the two toddlers with the mother, were transported to Mount Sinai, and again for precautionary measures. There's another vehicle on the northbound lanes that you saw there. That vehicle was traveling northbound, and apparently in the back of the vehicle was clipped by the plane during the accident somehow, and that's why you see that vehicle facing southbound on the northbound lanes, but only because we had to bring them back onto the scene because that vehicle continued to travel north. So we had to put them back on the scene for our crime scene, can go ahead and take pictures and so forth. But that vehicle was traveling northbound on Collins and somehow was clipped as well. We don't have the identities of the people that were on the plane yet. We do not know who that person that's deceased is in there until our investigators do not get a positive identification of the two individuals that were transported that were passengers, or when I say passengers, meaning they were inside of the aircraft. We don't know who is who at this point, so we don't want to say who is that person that's in there, whether it's a pilot or a passenger, because we clearly at this point do not know. So until we don't get positive IDs of the other two, then we're able to identify who this third person that's here deceased on the scene. We do have Collins Avenue blocked off from 96th Street all the way to 163th Street. In both directions. We understand that it is causing major traffic gridlock, and we apologize for that, but it's unfortunate because of the layout. It's unfortunate there's no way people can make U-turns to get them out. So once they come in, they're not going to be able to get out, and that's why we have it closed off in such a large area. We're going to try, according to the FAA that's here on scene, they're going to try to get their folks out here fast enough in order to remove that plane, because they just told me they're conscious of course, the traffic patterns that it's causing, the gridlock and the melee that it's occurring here because of that. So they're going to try to clear as much as possible, but they do anticipate that this is going to be here for several hours. So we are going to anticipate the roads being closed into the nighttime.
Alvaro, pretty remarkable that that woman and the two toddlers in that SUV survived all this. Can you talk about the injuries sustained there?
All I know is that they said it was in stable condition, that as far as they know, there's nothing that they're life-threatening or any major injuries. Again, that they were transported just as a precautionary measure because of the fact it was a head-on impact. So they'd rather get them checked out by medical personnel to make sure that we don't leave any underlying injuries there that they may not notice on scene. But you are absolutely right. It is miraculous that you're traveling in a vehicle, the driver with the two toddlers, and you head-on collision with an aircraft, and everybody's okay. So we're thankful for that. But it's still unfortunate that we did lose somebody on this scene. But again, we're now working on to figure out how things occurred, why did it occur, and that's all now part of our federal partners, NTSB and the FAA.
The FAA did say that there was engine issues.
I spoke to them, but again, I mean, it's way too early for them to be able to, and of course, they're waiting for NTSB to get here as well. So I wouldn't be able to discuss anything regarding the aircraft because it's their investigation and their fairness.
Do we know anything about the flight path?
That would all be with them too. The flight path, where it took off from, the engine factors, even the model of the plane, and the ownership of that plane, of that aircraft, all of that would go under our federal partners, because again, that is crucial to their investigation, and we won't middle into that.
The two trauma alerts, were those the two folks who were found outside the plane when
We have been listening to Miami-Dade police give an update on an accident involving an SUV and a small plane that happened this afternoon. We have learned that one person in the aircraft is deceased. 3 people total were in the plane at the time it went down. The 2 others are injured. One had to be airlifted, another brought to the hospital. At this time, it is unclear who the pilot was and who the passengers were. In the SUV, there was a female driver and 2 toddlers. Now, they were transported to the hospital for precautionary measures, and they are expected to be okay. Miami-Dade police say the SUV essentially collided head-on with the small plane as it came down, and we do have a traffic alert for you. Collins Avenue is closed between 96th and 163rd Streets, and that will be the case for the next several hours as this investigation continues. Again, 3 people were in that plane, 1 deceased, 2 injured, and a woman and 2 toddlers in the car are amazingly okay. Now, we have more on this just ahead on CBS 4 News at 6. Join us and keep up with us online as well at cbsmiami.com.